The spirit I talked to, Mary, was very weak during the first 10 minutes or so of this video. That session actually ended prematurely because the spirit Mary wrote out, "I must go," and she apparently meant "I must go." And so that's the first 10 minutes might be very, very boring because she was weak and she was spelling out nonsense, and then she had to go. Okay. Mary, are you here? Okay, you said yes, so you're here. Mary, I was wondering, do you know why things disappear in the Bermuda Triangle? No. Okay. Mary, the other day you told me that you had posies in your garden. I was wondering, where did you get the posy seeds from for which you grew your posy flowers? Where did you get the seeds from? I W I L L C E. Is that an I? I T. Mary, what did you just say? I will seat. What does that mean? I will CEIT. I W I L L E. Is that a D? D I J T. You oh that was an I guess. You say I willed it? Is that what you said? I willed it? Okay. So you willed it. So you can create seeds um with your mind, is that true? You can create seeds with your mind. Yes. Well, that's interesting. Ugh. Mary, last week we had a Ouija board blindfold test, and it didn't work out. You were not able to find the yes with me and Leslie blindfolded. And I was wondering, have you thought about why that test wasn't successful? No. Would you say that it's safe to say that you need either my or my Ouija board partner's eyes in order to successfully find the yes in that experiment? No. Why do you think that, Mary? D O T S A Y A I B S. All right, Mary. That you wrote DOT say Aves. That's not. That doesn't make sense. Can you spell that out for me again? D O N T S S N E L L. Mary, did you write don't snell? Okay, well, what does snail mean? I don't know what snail means. D C A N T S A Y. Did you just write can't say? No. Mary, what did you just write? I'm having a hard time communicating with you today. C A N T S A Y. Mary, did you just write can't say? Okay, Mary, in my notes before that I took a long time ago, I asked you if life review happens before one is in bliss, and you wrote yes. Can you explain that? X, or no, W, E, S, E, E, A, L, L, I, N B L I S S. So, but I asked you if it happens before bliss, and you wrote yes. Do you remember that? Yes. So why did you write yes to that? I'm just curious. W. Is that a C? What does WC mean? Why did you say WC? I am U T G. Oh. Did you say I must go? Yes. Okay, well, I'll let you go now. Bye, Mary. Mary, are you here? Mary, so you said yes. So, I was wondering, what did you mean when you said we see all in bliss yesterday? I was asking you about this time in my notes that you wrote yes to, but life view happens before bliss. Um, do you remember writing yes that life review happens before bliss? Can you explain that a little bit to me? B O T H A R E T R U E. W Hey.
after that, if Republicans will finally accept this, a big smile broke out on his face. He said they will.
Yes.
They will. So he is confident that eventually this is going to work itself out. But the question is, at what
F.
cost? I mean, he is
No,
trying
that's
to
an
build
E.
his administration, his government, but there are national security
E.
implications and interests here. So we'll see how this plays out. But Anderson, no question, Joe Biden is
Hey.
trying to cool the temperature, try and play it cool, like not engaging with Republicans and President Trump.
And what have they been able to do so far as
L.
the transition effort?
L.
Well, a big part of his day today, he was not busy on the phone with Republican leaders, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. I asked if they had spoken. He said not yet. He hopes that he will speak to him soon. But he was talking to world leaders, the British Prime Minister, the French President, the German Chancellor, on
B.
and on and on. And we asked him what his message was, and he said, my message is America's back. So Joe Biden, a longtime member of the Senate Foreign Relations Commission, who traveled around this globe constantly as vice president, was, again, had a smile on his face because he's been talking to world leaders. So he does believe that these Republicans will come around. And Anderson, talking to a variety of people today, Republicans in Washington, one thing became clear. They're not afraid of President Trump. They're afraid of his voters, particularly that Georgia Senate race, another thing. And Joe Biden said he would campaign in Georgia if necessary, if they asked him. So that is one
All in bliss. Both are true. We see all in bliss. Is that what you said?
The President Trump, who's not been seen much lately, senior chief White House correspondent Jim McCall's joins us with more. So, Jim, the President refusing to
Yes.
many Republicans backing him up.
Is it possible that people who have near-death experiences have the same kind of life review as what happens before bliss? Is that true? Is that possible?
But you also have Republican lawmakers up on Capitol Hill saying the president may have not lost this race, and that it's not time to congratulate Joe Biden or talk to the president-elect because he may not have won the race.
Mary, I have a question for you about in the Ouija board that there's this thing called ZOZO that people talk to on the Ouija board. Have you ever heard of that?
Basically decided for Joe Biden at this point will somehow reverse decisions, reverse outcomes in certain states. It is such it is such a hope against all hopes that this is going to work out in the favor that even people inside the campaign believe it's over. You even had the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying earlier today, we played this just a short while ago, that they're going to make a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
Why?
At this point, it is just extraordinary to hear the Secretary of State really sound like Baghdad Bob at this point to President Trump, Saddam Hussein.
W.
Isn't this just coddling the president? I mean, Republican senators who've been around, they know what the deal is. They know why, and a lot of his supporters right now not realize what's going on. But I mean, they're coddling him. They want him to turn against them because he's capable of doing that. They don't want his supporters to be motivated to turn against them, and so they are taking their cues from him. I mean, if he wasn't pushing this, it's not like there would be a ground surge of Republican senators saying no, keep the election alive. There was probably fraud. It's all just fear of the president.
H.
It really is, Anderson. And I think what the Republican Party is starting to behave like, it is starting to behave like a party that knows that Donald Trump is going to remain on the scene for another 4 years. Obviously, there are people inside the party up on the Hill, inside the White House, inside the campaign, who believe that the president is going to lose this race. But there is already talk of the president running again in 2024, and people like Lindsey Graham and all of the others are not going to jeopardize their relationships with this president if he is potentially the odds-on favorite to win the nomination in just 4 years from now. That is why you're starting to see rumblings of a Donald Trump Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle trying to take the reins over at the RNC. That's why you have the president establishing a leadership pact so he can continue to flex his muscles and
you said yes, stay away from him in mind. So I will do that. I will stay away from him. Let me ask you a question. Is he a spirit?
And that is why they are now living in his alternate reality, just as the rest of the country and the rest of the world, for that matter, with foreign leaders and so on, talking to the president-elect. The rest of the world is moving on. The Republican Party, which has essentially become the resistance at this point, has not.
And what is the president actually doing presidential duties? Where
Okay,
is
well,
is there any
I'll stay away from
work
him
on
then.
coronavirus given the huge numbers that we
Mary,
have now? Every state.
I have another question. What good would it do if I remembered my or parts of my past life on a subconscious level?
Over the weekend, we have not seen the president since last Thursday when he had that
What good would that do?
briefing in the briefing room, while sitting in the briefing room, when I asked the president if he's behaving like a sore loser. We believe we will see the president tomorrow recognize Veterans Day, but that would be a carefully choreographed photo opportunity where reporters, by and large, don't have the chance really to press the president on any of these issues.
Yes.
He is staying out of sight. He is letting tossing out grenades from the social media bunker and talking to his base. And right now, the base is listening. The base is right there with him, Thelma and Louise style over the cliff, even as the president trashes what remains of his
Hell.
Jim Acosta, appreciate it. Thanks. Perspective now from senior political commentator, former Obama advisor Van Jones, also senior political reporter Abby Phillip, and senior chief political correspondent Dana Bash. Dana, what are you hearing from sources about how all this is playing out among congressional Republicans and inside of President-elect Biden's administration team? Because again, correct me if I'm wrong, but these senators know the deal.
They
absolutely know the deal. What you were saying to Jim Acosta is exactly right. They're worried about retribution from the president, which equals retribution from the supporters who are the same supporters that got each of these Republicans elected. There's no other way to see it. There's no other way to put it.
You wrote possible healing.
On Capitol Hill, admit in a candid way. That is the reason this is happening.
Mary, do ghosts that you call drifters, do they have their veil lifted, their veil to all their lives, like to where they can remember all their past lives? Do drifters remember all who are ghosts? Do they that are in between the third and fourth dimension? Do they have the veil lifted that means that they can remember all their past lives?
That is the case in the next few weeks, then maybe the Biden administration is going to have to get more aggressive.
No.
But I'm told that they believe that if they did that now, it would only backfire for a lot of reasons.
Mary, you told me once that there are spirits that pretend to be extraterrestrials or aliens. Are the spirits who pretend to be aliens, are those fifth dimensional spirits? They pretend to be aliens to like people on the Ouija board and like also like I guess mediumship. Are they fifth dimensional?
That is also going to help tremendously. So for now, they feel comfortable and confident in just being patient.
And Abby, I guess it's also the Senate race, the two races in Georgia that all Republican senators want the two Republican senators in Georgia to get reelected because they want to maintain control in.
Mary, are they fourth dimensional?
Is it that they're afraid that President Trump will, if they kind of move along, are going to attack the Republican senators in Georgia or not, or diss one of them?
I definitely think that is a possibility that President Trump could turn on Republicans if they were to turn their backs on him. But I also think that
Mary, are they drifters? Are they spirits that live in between the third and fourth dimension?
It's creating an enemy for the president's supporters to rally around. It's really causing them to have something to fight against, and that is always.
Mary, I have a question about the fifth dimension. When I go to the fifth dimension, can I wander around and explore it and talk to various individuals who are fifth dimensional?
Republicans want to harness that energy in Georgia, but also Anderson, this is about power. Politics may be about principle for some people, but for a lot of politicians, it is about power and remaining in power. And I think that's why you see Mitch McConnell taking the stand that he's taking. He understands that the stake is not just the next couple of weeks, but the future of the Republican Senate. He wants to remain a majority leader, and he'll do what it takes, just like he did what it took when it came to the Supreme Court that came open under President
Cool.
Obama.
I think I might want to do that a little bit when I get to the fifth dimension. So, Mary, why did you call Buddha's four elements of love? Why did you call that Buddha's four elements of love instead of the four immeasurables, because it's also called the four immeasurables. I think Buddhist people, they call it the four immeasurables. Why did you choose to call it the Buddha's Four Elements of Love?
The activists who got a lot of new voters to come in, who helped them, put them over in some of these states. Well, I mean, they should deliver for the people who voted for better health care, criminal justice reform, tax reform. Thing is that those things would be good for Americans, but where we are right now is dangerous. A transition government is very, very tough to pull off.
You.
As a trapeze artist, you're throwing American government up in the air, somebody's got to catch it. And it is unbelievable. It's more than 24 hours a day. I was a part of the Obama transition. It's literally more than 24 hours a day. It's an unbelievable task. And the fact we've been able to pull this off, term after a couple hundred years is a miracle in human history. It's really tough to do. These guys are shortening the runway and holding that really jeopardizes the health and safety of every single American. And everybody overseas, all of our defenders,
for your spirit. In the fifth dimension, is it called Buddha's Four Elements of Love? In the fifth dimension?
Our enemies know that we are making ourselves really vulnerable. Anybody who thinks that they believe in an ideology called America First needs to raise their hand and put America first. Not Trump first, not Republicans first, but America first. America is right. I do want to put in just part of your reaction when the presidency was called for Biden on Saturday. That's right. It's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Tell them it matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're a man, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happy to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. Vindication for who have really suffered.
W.
I can't breathe. That was Floyd. There's a lot of people that felt they couldn't breathe. Clearly, being very emotional for you. I'm wondering just over the last few days, the administration's basically been trying to take that back. How have you been thinking about it? Well, I mean, I hope.
Was the first word you wrote some?
This would be their first election they're paying attention to.
Was the first word you wrote some?
Proposed to act, or America's supposed to act. This is not. And if you're a kid, if you're a young person, if you're watching this right now,
was the second word you wrote fourth?
First, you should act like Joe Biden, the guy who shakes your hand, the guy who's kind even when he wins, the guy you shouldn't be like is the sore loser.
All right, Mary, I need you to spell me out all the letters after the word some, because I didn't get any of that message.
It's just horrible to watch this happen.
Some, and then what?
It's been very difficult for teachers, it's been very difficult for parents and guardians to explain to children why somebody who acts like a bully and is our president. And I will be very glad when he is our president to get back to raising our kids the right way. I mean, there was all that speculation about reckoning and party after President Trump loses, and Trumpism still there, or do they return to something? It doesn't seem like there's going to be much reckoning at all. It just seems like Trump is going to remain in Mar-a-Lago with a megaphone, and they're going to be beholden to him, hanging over the heads that he might run again, fundraising for them, if they do what he wants.
W.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there's going to be a reckoning. At least not anytime soon. The president is already, even while he's saying that he won this election, telling people that he may run again in 2024. And if he doesn't run again, his
So, Mary, you wrote some for those that wish it. So are you saying that there are some fifth dimensional beings that wish it to be called Buddha's Four Elements of Love in the fifth dimension?
What business will you have running for president in 4 years? So I think it's very clear
Yes.
power in terms of this Republican
That's
Party
interesting.
right now. And Anderson, I do want to say one other thing, just in response to what Stan was saying. One of the things about this election is that it really does highlight that a lot of the things that we have taken for granted in terms of the passing of the torch from one administration to
Mary,
another, in terms of
do non-true self-spirits feel feelings of bliss while they're in the fourth dimension?
those things for granted anymore. So for the younger people who are paying attention for the first time, it is a reminder that a lot of things in our system are not written in stone. They are not written in our laws. They are customs and they are traditions, and they only work when we all agree to act.
So is it safe to say that, like, this is my 7th life, so like 6 times I've felt like complete and utter bliss? Is that true?
Let me just say about your comment and question about the president and reckoning that clearly is not happening with the GOP. The fact that he won almost 71 million votes nationwide in the popular vote. Republicans will see that and know that this is Trump's political party and will be for a long time, whether he is elected or not, whether he runs in 2024 or not. He has a platform, as you said at the top of the show.
Wow.
He wants to continue.
That's interesting, Mary.
Political situation with the PAC, and a lot of people who I talk to say they're worried that they believe that he's going to start.
Mary, do you know why human beings here in the third dimension, why we have different blood types?
I've been back having Philip and Jones with all the news and all the noise. It's easy to forget the votes are still being counted. See, it's from Madeline's at the match of all fours tonight. So you've been going through the map as more votes are coming in. Where does it stand?
I think the interesting element right now is just pulling back a little bit, Anderson, right? If you've been paying a lot of attention to counties, you've been paying a lot of attention to potential legal challenges, but pull back and look at where the map is right now. I want to start with Pennsylvania.
Mary, do you know why there are so many variances in metabolism here in the third dimension?
45,673 votes. And the reality, Anderson, in Pennsylvania, it's going to grow. The outstanding vote, the majority of it comes from Allegheny County, comes from Philadelphia. That's Democratic stronghold. Joe Biden's margin is going to grow by a couple tens of
Mary, what effect does a person's soul being associated with a specific star system, what effect does that have on the soul, on the person?
You and I were talking about this state, I want to say Friday afternoon sometime. Joe Biden was up by maybe 1,500 votes. He's currently up by 14,000 votes right now. He's grown 1,500 votes over the course of the last couple of hours. For comparison, let's go back to Michigan. Back in 2016, Donald Trump won Michigan by 10,000 votes. 10,000 votes. Right now, Joe Biden is winning the state of Georgia by 14,000 votes. They're going to do a recount, but that is a recount safe margin right there. Flip into Arizona, too. This has also been changing a lot over the course of the last couple of days. Joe Biden's margin has narrowed a lot. President Trump now
that's interesting.
2,500 votes. But the reality is, President Trump in this state is going to have to win somewhere between 61 to 63% of the outstanding
Mary,
ballots.
in the fifth dimension, do you ever see like ex-boyfriends or ex-husbands or like old friends? Do you see them in the fifth dimension? Like you personally?
Obviously, everybody's talking about how large the popular vote is. That would get Joe Biden, if he wins Georgia, if he wins the state of Arizona, to 306 electoral votes. From 306
Mary, why don't you see any of them?
Trump had in 2016. So there's a lot of talk about challenges, a lot of talk about how tight races have been within the races that they're actually sitting in right now. But if you pull back a little bit from popular vote on down, Joe Biden's in a pretty good place here, both historically and if you just compare it back to President Trump's in 2016.
T
Next conversation with John Ossoff, who's
W
race in Georgia could decide who controls the
R
Senate. Later, after another brutal day in the pandemic,
S
hopeful word from Dr. Anthony Fauci about the new Pfizer
H
vaccine. Also, what the country needs to do
T
to save lives until it becomes widely available. We'll talk to Dr. Sanjay Gupta ahead.
O. You don't wish to see them. If you wanted to see them, could you see them? F E
I love being able to check in on my mom, but when I can't, I
W. Few. Are you trying to say that you do see few of them?
What's your favorite? My mornings are wide open. Well, just to listen to them. I love hearing their stories. Yes, I can
No.
travel to the doctor. At care.com, you can find a trusted.
What did you mean when you wrote few? Why did you write few?
Get the senior care help you need. Care.com. It's an important time to save. With Priceline,
I
you get up to 60% off amazing hotels. And when
C
you get a big deal, you feel
O
a big deal. Priceline. Every trip is a big deal.
U
The WeatherTech
L
Face Shield Air is an extra layer of protection for wherever you need it.
D
It allows air to circulate so it won't fog up.
S
Comes in two sizes, one for children and teens,
E
another for adults.
E
It has a comfort pad that's washable and antimicrobial,
F
and fits over glasses.
E
It's perfect just about anywhere you go. Order your American
W.
Face Shield Air at WeatherTech.com.
You could see a few of them if you wanted to. I got it. You wrote, I could see few.
5-star reviews and millions of happy customers.
It works on my back page.
Mary, are there monuments in the fourth dimension? Are there like here in the third dimension we have pyramids and like the Great Wall of China? Are there monuments in the fourth dimension like that? I
Always be ready to
C A
when inspiration
N
strikes.
T S
Make the most of this opportunity.
A
During the festive season of inspiration. Get 0.9% APR for up to
Wow.
60 months and no payments for 90 days.
You can't say. Well, let me ask you, are there monuments in the fifth dimension? Can you say that?
Can become your big moment.
Or I'll just ask you,
Otezla is not an injection.
can you say if there's monuments in the fifth dimension?
For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of claws.
Yes.
For psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to
Are
reduce
there
the chance
monuments
of
in the fifth
lymphedema,
dimension?
and the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for
I
routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla,
F
cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla
I
is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you're
C
experiencing depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people
H
taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur.
O
Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant
O
or planning to be.
S
Otezla.
E.
Show more of you.
You wrote, if I choose. Mary, is it ever a case that a leader, known as a fate, is a guide? Does that ever happen? To where a leader is a guide?
Desires to inflate baseless claims of voter fraud has apparently compelled both GOP senators to do so as well. They demanded the top state election official, who's a Republican, resign for not following the law. His response, no. He appeared to twist the knife,
No.
saying that one of the senators, David Perdue, was simply irritated he was in a runoff. Now, despite President-elect Biden being in the state, Georgia's not elected Democrat in 20 years.
Mary, the other day when we were talking to when we were trying to get in contact with my mother's spirit guide, you said it was a she, and then you gave it the word Dave. Is that accurate of what happened? You wrote, she must appear, and then you said the name was Dave. Is all that true?
To get Democrats for the 50 Senate, with Vice President Harris being the tiebreaker. You're behind your competitor, David Perdue, by more than 86,000 votes in last week's
Yes.
election results. How do you...
So why did you call Dave a girl since Dave is a boy's name? Because Dave is a boy's name. Why did you call Dave a she?
Because Democrats in Georgia right now are invigorated like I've never seen. And this is the culmination of 10 years of voter registration, organizing, a lot of this hard work led by Stacey Abrams. We have a lot of momentum in the state right now, and the Georgia GOP is in disarray, as you just said. They're not even willing to confront the reality of what's happened in this election, let alone prepare for these high-stakes runoffs for control of the U.S.
A
But isn't the Republican voter in Georgia also
and
probably motivated in a way they haven't been before if they are being told that there was fraud in the last election?
S
An overwhelming majority of Georgians
H
want the president-elect to have the chance to govern,
E
to lead us out of this crisis. Joe Biden just
W
defeated an incumbent president with the most significant popular vote margin since FDR defeating Hoover in 1932.
S
They are in denial right now, but the longer that this temper
H
tantrum drags out, and importantly, the
E
more that it disrupts the transition of power in the
S.
midst of a crisis, the more
It
supportive
is a name she
Georgia
wishes.
will continue
Wow,
to
that's
vote.
interesting. So she has a boy name, but it's a girl. Is that true? It's a girl with a boy name.
Not indulgence of Donald Trump's denial that he's lost re-election.
Obviously, getting
Yes.
people out to vote in a runoff election is
Mary, when was the last time that you were in a sphere form instead of a humanoid form? When was the last time you were in a sphere form?
voters in the state are highly motivated, but just in terms of a turnout, organization, how are things on the ground?
But we just had a huge, and by the way, public health compliant rally.
W
Massive sense of
R
enthusiasm and momentum, and not just opportunity, but also
T
obligation here in Georgia, because we are
H
keenly aware that for the Biden-Harris
R
administration to be able to govern, for them to be able to enact policies that they've got a clear mandate to
N
pursue, to empower public health experts like our
R
own CDC here in Georgia, to
O
jumpstart this economy with a strong jobs package. In order for them to be able to do
T
those things, there has to be an orderly transition, and they need the
A
capacity to pass legislation. And even beyond this
T
pandemic, Anderson, for us to pass voting rights laws, for us to pursue criminal justice reform, for us to make investments in clean
R
energy, all of these things require the capacity to govern. The people of the United States,
O
the people of my state, don't want 2 months
N
of Donald Trump kicking and screaming on his way out the White House,
S.
while for politicians like David Perdue pretend that
It said
he
within
needs a
rotations.
focused response
So I'm gonna turn this off.